Nah, sekarang kita akan membahas modul economics, yaitu modul 6 geopolitical. Jadi, kita belajar apa aja sih di geopolitical ini? Pertama, introduction. Jadi, geopolitical itu adalah study of how geographic affect politics and international relationship. Terus kita juga belajar mengenai geopolitical risk, and the risk associated with tension or action between actors that affect the normal and peaceful course of international relations, ya. Kemudian ada 4 learning objective. Yang pertama adalah describe geopolitics from a cooperation versus competition perspective. Kemudian describe geopolitics and its relationship with globalization. Kemudian describe tools of geopolitics and their impact on region and economics. Kemudian describe geopolitical risk and its impact on investment. Oke. Kita menuju yang pertama, loss yang pertama, yaitu di dalam geopolitics ini, kita harus paham siapa sih pelakunya. Pelakunya itu adalah state actors sama non-state actors. Siapakah state actors ini? State actor ini biasanya adalah national government, political organization, or country leaders that exert authority over a country, national security, and resources. Kemudian ada non-state actors. Non-state actor ini ya berarti di luar dari state actors tadi ya. Are those that participate in global political, economics, or financial affairs but do not directly control national security or country resources. Example of non-state actors are non-governmental organization atau NGO, multinational companies, charities, and even influential individuals such as business leaders or cultural icons. Oke, kemudian features of cooperation. Cooperation is the process by which country work together towards some shared goal or purposes. Jadi feature of cooperation ini ada cooperative country sama non-cooperative country. Cooperative country ini dia akan mengikuti standarisasi dari peraturan atau rules standardization, harmonization of tariff, free movement across borders, permitted movement of goods, services, and capital, reciprocation, technology exchange. Jadi kita harus ingat-ingat kalau ada rules standardization sama harmonization of tariff, free movement across borders, permitted movement of goods, services, and capital, reciprocation, sama teknologi exchange ya. Nah, kemudian apa itu non-cooperative country? Kebalikan dari cooperative country bahwa dia memiliki rules yang tidak konsisten, arbitrary rule, restricted movement, restricted trade, retaliation, lack of technology exchange. Oke, kemudian motivation for cooperation ini bisa karena national security or military interest sama economic interest. National security ini untuk keamanan bersama, kemudian economic interest karena mungkin misalnya mereka memiliki perdagangan antar negara yang harus dipenuhi satu sama lain. Kemudian kita masuk ke knowledge check ya. Geographic factor do not influence the extent to which a country will choose a cooperative approach. Benar atau salah? Jawabannya adalah salah karena geographic factors itu sangat penting ya dalam menentukan kerjasama ya, approach dari kerjasama dari satu negara ke negara lain. Kemudian fill in the blank. Two factors on which a cooperative country is likely focused include. Nah, tadi ya kan kita udah belajar bahwa harus ada rules yang distandardisasi, kemudian juga ada kesamaan tarif ya. Tarif ini dalam masalah trade. Oke, kita cek di atas tadi ya. Trade and standardization masuk ke cooperative country di sini ya. Nah, ini adalah masalah trade, ini adalah standardization. Oke, kita tebelin aja trade and standardization. Ini adalah yang utama sebagai cooperative country. Oke. Kemudian kita resource endowment, standardization, and soft power ya. Geographical resource endowment. Maksudnya apa sih ini? Include such factor as livable geography and climate as well as access to food and water, which are necessary for sustainable growth. Oke, geophysical resource endowment. Oke, berarti ini terkait dengan kebutuhan dasar dari manusia ya. Kemudian standardization di sini, jadi harus ada kesamaan ya antara satu pihak dengan pihak lainnya untuk mengikuti standar yang telah ditetapkan bersama. Kemudian juga ada soft power. Soft power ini adalah alat ya untuk influence another country decision without force ya. Jadi halus banget mainnya gitu. Contohnya itu kayak kasih beasiswa, kemudian cultural program. Kemudian the role of institution, countries with strong institution ya, including organization and structures promoting government accountability, rule of law and property rights, allow them to act with more authority and independence in the international space. Jadi ketika sebuah negara itu memiliki sangat kuat gitu ya, katakanlah US or Inggris, maka dia memiliki otoriti yang lebih dan juga independence di dalam dunia internasional. Hierarchy of interest and cost of cooperation. Jadi di sini ada interest itu juga ada urutannya gitu ya. Dan juga ada biaya untuk kerjasama ya, cost of cooperation. Government use the hierarchy of interest to guide their behavior. They will choose to cooperate where it benefits the nation state. But when two needs result in conflicting cooperation tactics, those higher on the hierarchy are prioritized. For example, cooperation in the form of tariff harmonization may benefit the country on a standard alone basis. Jadi ketika tarif harmonization itu adalah sesuatu yang sangat penting, maka pasti itu akan memberikan benefit ke negara ya. Kemudian tapi those countries are in a military conflict. Ketika dia military conflict, then there is a higher cost of cooperation. If military determination is higher on the country's peace, the cooperation will not be their national interest despite potential benefit gitu. Jadi harus melihat dulu tuh term and conditionnya ya. Contohnya ya. Some of the okay. Jadi satu negara itu ada yang memprioritaskan independence daripada dari foreign influence, tapi negara yang lain itu massive as a political leadership turns over or as global event change ya. For investors, it is important to understand how those resources, flows, and leadership style might interact or even conflict with one another over time. When countries will misalign or change, it might give rise to geopolitical risk. Oke, di sini ada power of decision maker ya. Is the length of a country political cycle does not impact its priority destination. Salah ya, harusnya tetap mempengaruhi ya. The length of a country political cycle has an important impact on priority destination as government with shorter cycle have little incentive to focus on a longer priorities. Oh iya. Karena kalau misalnya governmentnya itu shorter cycle, maka longer prioritiesnya itu enggak terlalu diperhatikan ya. Oke. Political non-cooperation, there are some instances of extreme non-cooperation. Countries whose political determination is more important than the benefit of any cooperative action. Those extreme cases are rare, not least because the importance of cooperation for other state actors may result in attempts to coerce non-cooperative state actors into participation. Oke, selanjutnya kita masih ke loss yang kedua, yaitu describe geopolitical and its relationship with globalization. Ya, jadi tadi non-state kita kan udah tahu kayak NGO dan lain-lain gitu ya. Apa itu globalization? The process of interaction and integration among people, companies, and government worldwide. Kemudian feature of globalization, features-nya itu ada features-nya globalization itu economic and financial cooperation, itu trade of goods, feature dari globalization itu perdagangan, capital flow, perdagangan, dana masuk, currency exchange, sama cultural and information exchange. Ini yang paling rendah ya. Yang pertama itu biasanya trade and goods, capital flow, currency exchange, sama cultural. Itu features dari globalization. Nationalism ini limited trade, limited capital flow, restricted currency exchange. Jadi nasionalisme ini adalah lawan dari globalization. Oke, knowledge checks. Fill in the blank using the word government, private sector, national, and subnational. While political cooperation and non-cooperation can be driven by siapa nih? By national actors. Globalization as the result of economic and financial cooperation is carried out mostly by subnational actors such as cooperation, individual, and organization. Organic private sectors forces can drive the exchange of product or ideas even without government support. Oke, kita cek benar atau enggak ya. Nih, yang tadi pertama adalah national actors, benar. Kemudian by subnational actors, benar. Kemudian tadi yang ketiga ya, organic private sectors ya. Organic private sector. Jadi di sini national actors di sini tadi kan adalah state sama non state. Nah, ini state itu maksudnya national actors. Subnational actors-nya itu berarti ini non state. Ini tuh maksudnya state sama non state ya. In my opinion. Berarti state ini adalah national, non-state itu subnational. Oke, kemudian nomor 2, globalization is primarily carried out by government actors. Berarti salah ya, karena kan di bawahnya itu sama non-government actors. Ini udah dijelasin tadi di atas ya. Oke, selanjutnya adalah motivation for globalization. Ya, sebentar, Yasmin. Nah, motivation for globalization itu adalah increasing profit, access to resources and market, sama intrinsic gain. Maksudnya increasing profit ini ya pastinya kita pengen dapat keuntungan ya. Kemudian access to resources and market, portfolio investment flow are short-term investment in foreign asset. Ini jadi ada 2 jenis ya untuk access to resources ya. Ada yang kita sebut hot money lah ya, atau portfolio investment flow. Terus ada juga yang long term itu adalah FDI. Kemudian intrinsic gain ini maksudnya one example of intrinsic gain is the personal growth or education that individual may receive from expanding their horizons, experiencing new places, or learning new ideas. Another example is accelerated productivity from learning new methods. Oke, kemudian kita masuk ke cost of globalization and trade of rollback. Jadi cost of globalization ini sering banget ditanyain ya, unequal accrual of economic and financial gain, sama lower environmental, social, and government standard, political consequences, sama interdependence. Nah, ini paling sering muncul adalah interdependence ya. karena satu sama lain itu tidak bisa berdiri sendiri, saling membutuhkan. If standard on environmental protection, social benefit, or corporate governance are lower in one country compared to another, and companies ultimately reduce their standard of production in that context, then globalization can create a drain on human. Okay, political consequences. Well, some countries may benefit from improved labor force utilization, others may lose jobs as the company move abroad. Therefore, globalization can contribute to income and wealth, income and wealth inequality. Jadi ada satu negara yang tambah kaya, ada yang negara lain yang jadi miskin, yang tetap miskin gitu ya. Oke, kemudian kita masuk ke learning, ini learning objective 1 sama 2 itu kalau digabung, jadi kita bisa menilai assessing geopolitical actors and risk. Jadi are types of globalization and cooperation itu ada autarky, hegemony, multilateralism, and bilateralism. Jadi multilateralism and bilateralism itu adalah kooperatif, tapi kalau autarky sama hegemony ini non-kooperatif ya. Autarky describe countries seeking political self-sufficiency with little or no external trade or finance. Hegemony ini for the global system, country aligning with the hegemony rules and standards maintain the reward and the leader, including the stabilizing force of monitoring. Oke, multilateralism berarti banyak negara ya, mutually beneficial trade relationship and extensive rule harmonization. Kalau bilateralism itu berarti political, economic, financial, between two countries, ini two countries, ini banyak countries. Nah, hegemoni ini jadi dia ini ya harus patuh sama standar di hegemoni country ini. Kalau autarki ini tuh maksudnya yang sendiri ya, contohnya kayak Korea Utara gitu. Oke, examples. The relative permanence of geographic factors implies a fundamental stability in geopolitical risk analysis of the involved parties. Ini ya relatif permanence sekali ya. Harus kita cek. Harusnya enggak. Berarti false ya. Geopolitical risk analysis is fundamentally. Nah ini fundamentally dynamic, enggak permanen gitu. Within the relevant framework, to most appropriately assess the likelihood and impact of geopolitical risk. Oke, sekarang kita masuk ke yang learning objective ketiga, describe tools of geopolitics and their impact on region and economics. The tools of geopolitics itu ada national security tools, economic tools, financial tools, sama multi-tool approach ya. Yang pertama, national security tools itu apa sih? National security tools are those used to influence or coerce a state actors through direct or indirect impact on the country's resources, people, or borders. The most extreme example of national security tool is that of armed conflict ya. Is a direct and active national security tool. Oh ini ya, national security tool itu adalah armed conflict. Direct and active national security tool. While geopolitical financial tools can be used for both cooperative and non-cooperative reasons, national security tools are characteristically non-cooperative. Ini ya, national security tools are kita harus cek ya. Jawabannya adalah salah. National security tools are non-cooperative in cases like armed conflict. Jadi non-kooperatif karena kasusnya itu adalah armed conflict. But collective security agreements such as NATO also also be used cooperatively to reduce the possibility of conflict among members and between members and outside states, ya. Jadi, role geopolitical Jadi, geopolitical financial tools can be used for both cooperative and non-cooperative. Jadi, pertama itu, financial tools might be cooperative in reducing geopolitical risk if they encourage cooperation in security, economic, or financial arenas. They may also tend non-cooperation by creating vulnerabilities in the international system. Ya, oke. Nah, yang kedua, national security tools are characteristically non-cooperative. Nah, national security tools itu non-cooperative in case of armed conflict, tapi bisa collectively security agreement. Jadi, harusnya national security tools are characteristically non-cooperative. Karakteristiknya sih menurut saya yang salah ya, karena kan bisa collective security agreement. Ini salah satu contohnya yang non-kooperatif itu kalau armed conflict. Oke, selanjutnya. Ya, sini-sini.
Gondola.
Economic tools ya.
Gondola.
Economic tools are action used to reinforce cooperative or non-cooperative.
Gondola.
Oke, sekarang financial tools. Iya, ya.
Gondola.
Nah, financial tools itu action used to reinforce cooperative or non-cooperative senses via financial mechanism. Jadi finansial itu free exchange or currencies across borders and allowing foreign investment. Kalau economic tools tadi ada contohnya nggak di sini? Oh, economic means gitu aja ya. Oke, financial tools, kita cek. Describe the condition under which cooperative financial tools might decrease geopolitical risk as well as create vulnerabilities in international system. Jadi, cooperative financial tools may reduce geopolitical risk if they encourage cooperation in security, economic, and financial arenas. Encourage cooperation itu ya. However, if the system becomes too dependent on a particular financial tools or if the tool becomes too dominant, it may introduce vulnerabilities in the international system that can have far-reaching implications. Oke, selanjutnya multi-tool approach ya. Multi-tool approach ini adalah cabotage. Cabotage itu the right to transport passenger or goods within a country by a foreign firm. Many countries, including those with multilateral trade agreement, impose restriction on cabotage. Restriction on cabotage across transportation subsector, meaning that shipper, airlines, and truck drivers are not allowed to transport goods and services within another country's borders. Allowing cabotage requires coordination on areas like physical securities and economic coordination, a highly multilateral process. Oh, jadi dengan allowing cabotage ini adalah contoh dari multi-tool approaches ya, karena membutuhkan koordinasi yang banyak dari berbagai macam negara dan juga dari banyak inilah ya perangkat yang mendukung. Multi-tool approaches tadi cabotage udah ya. Kemudian geopolitical risk and comparative agreement. Countries or region with limited geopolitical risk exposure may attract more labor and capital. Jadi kalau negaranya aman, geopolitiknya rendah, nanti investment bisa datang gitu ya. Tapi kalau geopolitical risknya itu tinggi, maka bisa kehilangan labor and capital. Oke, kita cek knowledge kita. Germany's reaction to the Syrian refugees crisis is an example of comparative advantage stemming from geopolitical risk. Jawabannya benar, karena countries with a lower geopolitical risk exposure have the ability to attract resources, such as labor and capital, with its strong economic position in the UAE and long-standing stability of political leadership. Germany was able to undertake the resettlement of 1 million Syrian refugees to it while assuming the short-term relocation cost and disruption of its domestic politics. This improved its long-term demographic balance by adding young and talented migrants, with the resulting increases in labor and capital stock potentially increasing Germany economic growth rate. Oh, jadi si Syrian refugee ini, oke, diterima dengan baik di Jerman gitu ya. Oke, sekarang kita masuk ke los yang keempat. Los yang keempat adalah describe geopolitical risk and its impact on investment ya. Jadi incorporating geopolitical risk into the investment process. Geopolitical risk analysis can reduce the impact and severity of adverse events and enhance the potential for upside growth. For example, an investor that anticipates an important political transition might enact portfolio hedge to short. Oke, type of geopolitical risk ada event risk, exogenous risk, sama thematic, sama. Oke, ada 3 ya. Event risk itu adalah udah tahu tanggalnya lah ya. Kemudian kalau exogenous ini yang mendadak atau tiba-tiba. Thematic risk ini non-risk that evolve and expand over a time of period. Misalnya climate change, pattern migration, the rise of populist forces, and the ongoing threat of terrorism fall into this category. Cyber threat. Okay. Knowledge check. Some of the following types of risk are known in advance. Berarti kita tahu terlebih dahulu ya, berarti event ya. Yang A, event risk, oke. Terus, thematic risk juga kita udah tahu terlebih dahulu. Kayak tadi kan itu ada pattern migration, rise of populist forces. Oke, kita tahu terlebih dahulu ya. Yang enggak tuh yang exogenous risk ya. Event risk involve around set dates and thematic risk is unknown risk that evolves and expand over a time period. Oke, sekarang kita mau assessing geopolitical threats ya, likelihood it will occur. Terus velocity itu adalah speed of its impact. The velocity of geopolitical risk is the pace at which it impacts an investor portfolio. For the sake of simplicity, we explore short-term or high velocity impact, medium, and long-term or low velocity impacts. Black swan risk adalah an event that is rare and difficult to predict but has an important impact. Velocity atau speed of its impact adalah what's the potential velocity of a geopolitical risk with the most likely investor reaction among those listed in the following table. Geopolitical risk velocity investor reaction itu low, medium, sama high. Low, medium, sama high. Low itu adjust investment in specific sectors. B, flight to quality. C, adjust asset allocation. Jadi low yang low itu geopolitical risk velocity berarti speednya ya, speed dari investor reaction. Jika lo maka ya A aja, adjust. Jika lo maka adjust asset allocation. Jika medium maka adjust investment in specific sector. Jika high maka flight to quality. Kayaknya ini kebalik ya. Jika lo harusnya kan adjust investment in specific sector. Oke, let me check it first. Oke. Jadi benar ya, kalau misalnya low, maka kita cukup adjust asset allocation. Jika medium, maka kita harus adjust investment in specific sector. Jika high, maka kita harus flight to quality. Oke, sekarang kita knowledge check. Describe the 3 areas that an investor should consider when assessing geopolitical risk. An investor should consider the following 3 areas when assessing geopolitical risk: the likelihood it will occur, the velocity of its impact, and the size and nature of its impact. Okay, the likelihood it will occur, consider the probability of the geopolitical risk will occur, the velocity, okay, the impact-nya. Okay, the size and nature of the impact ya, impact-nya. Oke, sekarang tracking risk according to signpost. Jadi ada signpost ya, ada red flag-nya ya. An indicator, market level, database, or even the signals or risk in becoming more or less likely. Identifying the right signpost can require some trial and error. A basic rule of thumb for distinguishing signal from noise is the distinction between politics and policy. For example, there can be a big difference in politics between two leaders, but the policies they enact are what create larger or more durable portfolio impact. Analysts would look policy changes to guide their portfolio management decision. Jadi kita harus cek ya policy ini. Manifest of geopolitical risk, high velocity risk, commodities, foreign exchange, equities, bond prices. Okay, first, they found that high level of geopolitical risk reduce U.S. investment. Taking this observation deeper, the authors found that individual firm investment falls more in industries positively exposed to geopolitical risk. They studied the adverse effect of geopolitical events themselves as well as the threat of adverse event. Oke, sekarang mulai cek. 1. Higher velocity geopolitical risks are most likely to have a prolonged impact on investment input. Ya, benar. Higher velocity berarti kan lebih cepat kan, lebih cepat. Ya, impactnya itu langsung lebih cepat gitu. Prolonged enggak? Oh, enggak ya. High velocity risks are most likely to manifest in market volatility from changes in asset prices. Lower velocity geopolitical risks are likely to have a prolonged. Oh, yang ini tuh yang lower velocity ya, karena speednya itu lambat. Makanya kita kalau speednya lambat itu makanya kita harus merubah dari asset allocation ya tadi ya. The terrorist attack asset ini example of a higher. Oh ya, ini higher velocity ya, makanya cepetan impact-nya. Geopolitical risk as the market had a sharp downturn and rebounded in a relatively short time of amount. Oh, oke, berarti yang oke. Jadi tadi kita harus paham ya bahwa ketika ada low, medium, and higher, apa yang ketika ada sebuah peristiwa geopolitik yang ada yang low velocity, ada yang medium velocity, sama ada yang higher velocity ya. Apa yang harus kita lakukan ya? Kalau low berarti kita adjust asset allocation. Karena itu pelan-pelan banget kan, nggak cepat gitu. Kalau medium, maka adjust investment in specific sector. Kalau high, kita langsung flight to quality. Karena ini tuh kalau high itu berarti cepat banget turunnya, tapi juga cepat baliknya gitu. Ya, sharp downturn and reported in that relatively short amount of time. Makanya kalau low itu kita utak-utik di asset allocation-nya, apakah mau fixed income lebih gede atau enggak dari saham. Oke, sekarang nomor 2. The probability and impact of geopolitical risk influence relative asset price discount rates across emerging and developed market. Okay, the probability and impact of geopolitical risk influence relative asset price discount rates across emerging market. Benar, karena dia geopolitical risk itu mempengaruhi diskon rate ya. Oke, good. Sekarang acting on geopolitical risk. Ya, a top-down approach asset allocators may consider geopolitical risk in their asset allocation strategy. The asset allocator would thus allocate more capital to the countries with lower expected risk profile. The importance of geopolitical risk in the investment process depends on investor objective, risk tolerance, and time horizon. For an investor with a long-time horizon, a geopolitical event like an exogenous shock could be a buying opportunity. Jadi kalau ada kayak misalnya Rusia Ukraina ini buying opportunity ke Indonesia sebagai negara yang punya komoditas. For an investor nearing retirement, however, the same exogenous shock can have a major negative impact. Oh iya, kalau dia long term ya. Oke. Oke, untuk geopolitical, untuk materinya sudah, nanti kita akan lanjut untuk pembahasan di